Well, I have not been making a lot of videos lately, but I have been watching a lot of videos, and this one in particular, I want to play just a portion of it and then show you something in my pictures of light that looks like what they're talking about here. Now I'll start it right about here and you'll hear it.
Space-time is
space-time.
Like an effective emergent description from something else that underlies it. And that something else could be information in the following way.
So underneath the molecules and atoms and particles, there's another layer of reality that's coming to light. It's a layer that's based on information.
To investigate this, computer scientist Brian Whitworth compared the weirdnesses in modern physics to both the expected behavior of particles in empty space in an objectively real world, and to the behavior one would expect out of information processing in a virtual reality. After mapping out the parallels, it was astonishingly found that the weirdnesses of modern physics fit the predictions of a virtual reality better than those of a real world. Meaning, our world behaves more like the inside of a computer game than a world made of material atoms in an empty void. Some of the numerous examples Whitworth investigated include pixelated spacetime.
Pay attention to
Everything within a virtual reality is broken down into pixels with minimum sizes. If the world were real, however, we would expect there to be no small size. One could simply go smaller and smaller. However, as it turns out, the physical universe is pixelated. Even space and time have small sizes and durations called the Planck length and Planck time, respectively.
Space at the Planck length resembles the grid on a football field. The yard lines are the fabric of our universe, and there's simply nothing in between.
It could be that time jumps from one discrete point to another, and there are no steps in between.
Like little quantum mechanical ants could tunnel from one spot on the grid to another spot on the grid without ever going into the intervening space in between. Why? Because there isn't any intervening space between.
Sizes smaller than 1.6 times 10 to the negative 35 meters, and time smaller than 5.4 times 10 to the negative 44 seconds do not exist in our universe.
There is one surefire way to tell if you're looking at a computer simulation. Zoom in. Every computer-generated image, no matter how realistic, breaks down into pixels when you get close enough. You might think this doesn't happen in the real world, but you'd be wrong. In the past century, physicists have discovered that matter really is made of tiny little pixels, fundamental, indivisible particles billions of times smaller than an atom. The theory that explains all this, quantum mechanics, applies not just to matter, but to the entire universe.
Look at the way the universe behaves. It's quantized. It's made of pixels. It's made of individual atoms. Space is quantized. Time is quantized. Energy is quantized. Everything is made of individual pixels.
A maximum speed limit. Our real-world intuitions tell us that velocity can increase.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. Now, I'll move my camera over here to my opened up program in Picasso. And this is a picture. I think I will go back so you can see it better. This is a picture of an orb. I take pictures of light. And I don't know why I'm able to get this, but I am. I see the light come out of the light source as these little, orbs. And see how this is doing. There's a light orb that goes back and forth between this one and this one I'm going back and forth to. And if you look on this, and my next one will show you, this color violet, and it's always pretty much in the violet that I see this. And I think violet is one of the more evolved of the colors. Now look at this. There it is in this. There's that pixelated look. And after listening to what you just did that these scientists are saying, a computer-generated world would be pixelated. Now this is a real close-up I did I zoomed in and took a little portion of that last picture to show you this pixelated look to this violet color. Here's another one, and there's the little photon coming out of the light source, and it's kind of all folded up, kind of like wrinkled. And in this violet, all around it is that pixelated color. So I get this often. I don't get it all the time. Now I will just show you some of my other. Let me go back out of this because I want to show you also. This is an artist rendition of what it looks like that the hydrogen atom is doing in its orbitals, because they've done calculations and they think they know that its movements are like this. And I will show you. In my orb picture taking, I get that same kind of little orbitals that they show in the hydrogen atom orbitals that the scientists are putting videos out about. And also they say it's a self-propelling way that subatomic particles move this pattern that looks like rug weaving or something like that. I have a lot of examples in my orbs of this. Even this one is doing something really strange. It's weaving a little pattern, but it's also going up and around and back. And I get so many pictures of this. Here's a good example. Now, right here, I'll go to this. Oh, I'm not. That doesn't. Here you go. Hydrogen wave function. You see these little pictures that show what they have determined that the hydrogen wave looks like is what I'm getting in my orbs. So I'm thinking I'm taking pictures of something very, very quantum, very, very small, because it's smaller than the atom. It's within the atom. And I know I don't sound real educated about science or anything, but I do have some beautiful pictures of these things that I'm just inclined to think of as being more than just light refraction, which people tell me, oh, that's just light refraction. But I see these things with the naked eye as well, without using a camera. I just don't see them as defined. It is a colorful world all around us inside the tiniest little packets of energy. This is just one example. I went in real close on one of the orbs, and the colors constantly are flickering from one color to another. They don't stay the same color. I have many videos where I show that. Here's some more of those little self-propelling examples of the orbital and the hydrogen. Now here's a good picture to show how the orb comes out, and it's like it can fold and unfold and just move all kinds of ways and fold up with several others of it that look like it. Change colors. It's just a contortionist. It can do anything, these little orbs, the way they move. And you see here, I took this picture of an orb as it comes from the light. Right at first, it's teardrop shape. But now, if you look over here into this purple, look at that. That's got that into this violet color, I should say. It's kind of a purple, but more violet. It's got that pixelated look again about it. And these orbs fold up and look like an accordion sometime like this as they move. And you see right here, I'm looking directly at the light, and there's one of the little orbs right there where I'm pointing that's coming out. And as they get out further, they make a round orb. And then in that orb you can see all kinds of things, which I will be showing you. This one particular camera that I'm using right now to film this, it's a Kodak EasyShare 2710. Well, I get these 2 eye sockets inside each orb. Now I get many orbs if in my view when I'm taking the picture there are many spots of light, because each spot of light makes an orb. And all these orbs have these particular little sockets in a particular place inside the orb. And the orb may be all folded up, and yet you'll sometimes see that little eye socket. Those 2 little matching. Now, I don't know a lot about cameras and how to manipulate pictures. All I ever do to my pictures is that I lighten and darken to bring out colors. That's all. And I wouldn't know how a camera could have a tendency to put 2 little sockets in each atom, no matter where that, I don't mean each atom, but each orb, no matter where that orb is on the page. Look, here's one down here that it's in, and that's kind of folded over. Anyway, this is one unusual one I caught, because the one in the middle is on its side, and it's really strange. Now, if I were scientific, I knew things, how to speak about it, I could maybe say what this is showing. But I can show you beautiful pictures of how these orbs are so flexible. Look at this one. You can see it's folded over. Let me turn my camera where you can see that fully. And the one above it is splashing down like a wave. Now here's some more of those little orbitals of hydrogen. I think that's just what I'm calling it. Every time you hear things that the scientists and the quantum physicists say, it is usually a theory, so I can have a theory too. Because theories aren't exactly proof, but they have come up with some mighty good inventions they have because of things they've discovered about electromagnetism and things like that. So I give them a lot of credit. But they need to also understand that sometimes there are people who have a gift of being able to take a picture of something that the ordinary person can't take a picture of. Just like there's autistic children that can do these most unusual things, and that ordinary brain isn't capable of doing. Like you tell them, what day was it on the day that Pearl Harbor happened or something, what day of the week was this date, and they know, they can tell you right exactly, because mathematics to them is, and a knowingness of math is just built right into them. So it's an ability that a few people are demonstrating, but I'm saying if it's there, it's a possibility for everyone. Because once something has been done, it could be repeated. Here's some more of those orbitals. I haven't gotten much information from any scientific mind about what it is that I'm looking at here. And I have one little theory that they discount it when I send them pictures. I think they discount it because I'm just taking it with a little cheap camera, a little digital camera. And I'm using an LED light for my light source, or the sun. And a lot of times I use a piece of glass to get the glint of a bright spot of light on the glass, and they say, oh, well, that's something in the glass. And I'm sure that I sometimes film things that are on the glass or inside the glass, the bubble of the glass. You know, there's trapped air and things like that, and I don't know what that would look like. But this is the mightiest microscope. Just a piece of glass is a mighty microscope for seeing into a very tiny, tiny quantum world. And that should be worth something, just to know that you could do that. I mean, worth investigating. That's what I mean by worth. And look how on this one, the colors just seem to be falling off the side of this. They just drape over. It's kind of like it's a world, like if you've ever seen that movie called What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams, and he goes into this afterworld looking for his wife who went before him. And everywhere he moves around, it's like he's moving through this paint that doesn't get on him. It just moves out of his way as he walks around through it. But it makes the scenes very beautiful scenes. But their color, that is like a paint that is very unusual kind. You can breathe underwater in that world, and you can do all kinds of things. That, of course, that's just the imagination. Could be that it really is, but you know, a lot of people pay attention to these movies, way too much attention to the horror ones that show creatures coming into our world from some abyss, and then they get all into fear. I don't usually watch those movies because I don't like that in my mind. Okay, here is a picture of an orb that is undergoing some kind of excitement in this part of it here, where it seems to be just bursting out from that edge of it into a different look. This is certainly a colorful world, and it's full of action, and I really wish I had help in trying to understand it and film it better. Here's some more of that pixelated look. And see, it comes right out of the light, pixelated. We are in a computer-generated world, I do believe. And light is like fabric. See how it just, these orbs can stretch like a ribbon. They don't stay round. They seem to always have this defining edge, but not always. But most of the time they have this little line that goes around the edge of them, all the way around it. And if they make a ribbon-like, fan-like thing, you can continue to see that little line in it on the edges. Now this, I wish scientists would pay attention to the mystics of old, and the today modern mystics like Ken Carey in his book called Starseed Transmissions. One of the intelligence that was speaking to him said this: stardust, frozen starlight, you call it matter. It is an art form with which we have worked for 20 billion years. That's awesome. I've heard people say, we are stardust, we are frozen starlight. Well, it just sounds neat to me. I really like that. And here's another of the, it's a triple action this orb does. As it comes out of the light, it just makes a kind of a in-between orb that goes in between two bigger orbs, or sometimes the one in the middle is the biggest and the two on the edge. But you see, the orbs, they just scramble around all kinds of crazy ways. I've gotten many pictures of how they can look so many different ways. Like this one looks like lace. I thought this picture very beautiful. And now here's another saying I wrote into this one from a ascended master called El Morai. Since light is the highest vibration frequency known to humanity, it is reasonable to conclude that spirit is light. Since spirit is the creator with the power of manifestation, learn to illumine the mind and heart with the light of the God force. Sometimes the light will look like it contains seeds in it. Look at this orb moving like it's cupping up. So, it's making a kind of a cup of itself. Show you the whole picture. And sometimes it'll look like this. This is a very unusual picture I got one time years ago. And I thought, wow, that is really something. And here's a folded up, one of the orbs of light, folded like you would fold a diploma or something when you're folding paper, a paper document. And here's some more of those orbitals. Oops. I tell you, my what do you call it? Little thing I put my camera on, it's not the best. It lets it fall. More of the orbitals and more. And just beautiful colors. And if nothing else, I'm going to add to the physics, add to the quantum physics of this study a colorful vision of the quantum world, because I have hundreds and maybe thousands of most colorful, beautiful orbs. And now sometimes they'll have things like this in them. I can't figure out what it is, but I just take pictures of everything that looks interesting or unusual or even just plain ordinary. Now, I've only got this one time. That's really a strange looking one. My tripod is not working right. And look at this one. These came from the light, all folded up, and they have this little X-like thing in the center. And it forms feather. I watch it as it forms two balls of curved lines, and they just stack up all over the place. I didn't include any of the pictures of that, but here's another close-up of the pixelated look to the violet part of this. Now this is an orb that I filmed using a mirror and very much determination to film the orb that was on my eye. That, your eye has a spot of light that will shine in it, just like a marble. And there's the orb that I captured. Now you see, a light just sends out all these little orbs. And now orbs are something that a lot of people are getting in their pictures, but not especially are they getting this kind of orb that comes from the light. Although the orbs they get probably come from the light, yeah. But people take pictures at the night sky, and there's all kinds of plasma-looking things and orbs, and even little orbs that they film just moving around in their houses, in their bedrooms, in their kitchens, and they seem to be coming out of the walls and out of the floors, and I think it's something we need to investigate. Usually the people that are putting the videos up, I listen to the things they have to say, and they seem to be very sweet, kind people that these orbs are attracted to. If that tells you anything, I think it does. Now look at this thing. Isn't this unusual? It looks like the tail of something, or a hair maybe, but it's an unusual thing to see in a photon, orb. Look how this one did. This is a one-time picture. I've not ever gotten such a picture as this again. There's many times when I get a one and only kind of picture, and it's impossible to say I will get it again, because it's not repeatable that way. You get it if it lets you see it. It's like this light is an intelligence. Sometimes it lets me do things, as far as looking at it, that it won't let me do at other times. So I'm thinking it's very intelligent. Now look at this orb, and it's moving through a series of orbs, I think. They just enter into one another, exchange colors, do all kinds of things that if you had to classify all the actions it's doing, it would be a great task for a scientific-minded person to want to know and say what each action of these orbs means. And maybe you can't say what it means, because maybe we need to let the atoms be free to tell us what they are and what they want to do. We've always forced the atom. That's been the way of mankind, to force, pry open, and command anything to his will. But that is not the way that we're going to discover this world of the small, because we're getting really close to understanding God when you understand the really smallest of things. That's why they call it, at CERN they're looking for the God particle. But I don't think we'll ever really find it in ways where we force our way to find it. Look at this one, that's unusual. And this one. And look at this one, it's like you could travel in and out of little caves of this one, where it looks like it's a spider's web or something, a spider's little nest. It's just so unusual. And there's no way of talking about it where you don't sound completely crazy. I mean, I know people think, well, maybe she's a little out of it, maybe she's just imagining things, but I have the pictures. I have the pictures and the experience of having seen these things that I can't translate to another because they can't see through my eyes. But I do have the pictures to show you somewhat of what it is that I'm seeing. So much of what I see with the naked eye, I cannot film. And things like this, in this picture, I can't see that with the naked eye, but I can film it. And I only filmed this like 6 years ago or so. These pictures where it's looking real spastic and these really fluorescent ones. Light is so fantastic in its colors, and it looks like lightning sometimes. Look at that. It's just very spastic looking. Look at this one. And sometimes it looks like water and ripples. And this one has a funny way of looking. It looks like it made a horn right there. And sometimes it's not defined inside of a orb or anything circular, even without the little line around the edges. Sometimes it's just colors moving around that I see. I have many videos showing some of the movement of all this if you want to check out my channel. And see, there seems to be like a little ribbon thing of light folding over the top of this orb right here that's got a lot of green in it. So here's a good one right here. It's like it belongs in a textbook or something to show the different folding techniques that these orbs do. Like this one right here is folded almost completely into a long straight line, but one side of it's really bright. Here it's opened a little more, here it's opened a little more than that, and here it's opened a little more than that. So it's 4 examples there of an orb in different stages of movement. Now see, this is one that's an orb without a defining ring around the edge of it, and it's not perfectly round either, because sometimes that's just how I catch it. And sometimes with the naked eye I do see this kind of unformed, no ring around the edge kind of colors moving through the light that I see with the naked eye. but it passes so fast and I can't catch it in a picture, and I can't remember how to draw it because I only see it briefly. But I do see this sort of thing with the naked eye. This is a weird one. It looks kind of like a light ship. I've seen pictures that people have taken and made videos of. In the night sky, they see these kind of things. They call them light ships. I got this one day just by chance, you know. I do get a lot of unusual pictures, but you never know when they're going to come. I thought this one was unusual because of this black part. I'll bring it up close so you can see. Now look at this photon, this orb. You can tell it's an orb. You see the roundness of it. But look, it looks like a standing wave. So unusual. It's like, okay, I've heard talk of standing waves. Here's a standing wave. It's just standing there in all its glory. Okay, now this really does make me sound crazy, but this little character, I see him over and over and over. He pops into the orbs, and I've given him a name. I call him Harry, a light creature. Sometimes as I'm doing a video, Harry just travels around and gets in every orb I'm looking at. And sometimes when I don't see him, I say, Harry, where are you? I only get Harry with this one particular camera that I use, that I'm using right now. And sometimes I think, well, he is a creature that I can communicate with, in that I can say, where are you? And he shows up. Because when I say, where are you? Show yourself, it's not very long after I say that, either think it or say it, that he shows up. And so I've gotten kind of fond of him, and I know that makes me sound crazy, but there he is. That's his picture. Call me crazy if you want to. I don't really care anymore about what people think about me. I care more so in what is this that I'm looking at, and why is there not enough interest in it out there that scientists would want to investigate this more. I've been putting these pictures and videos of these kind of orbs, doing all these things out for years now, and I've sent some to different universities, but I never hear back from them. So if you know anyone interested in this sort of thing, who is a free-thinking, scientific kind of minded person that's not afraid to think outside the box, then show him this video. Because this can't all be light refraction. I mean, I've played around with light refraction by shining a light on a piece of glass with a white paper underneath the piece of glass, and it makes the most beautiful light displays that have color in them and everything, but they don't look like orbs. They don't have the little ring around the edges of these orbs and have these little tube-like things. And I'll tell you about the tube-like things that you see here. I've got a few pictures of them. With the naked eye, I see little tube-like things in the air in front of me in any really lighted room or outdoors with the outdoor light. I see them floating about, and people have told me, oh, you're seeing floaters that are a torn retina, and that's on the surface of your eye. Well, I don't think it's a torn retina, because my camera gets these little tube-like things, and my camera is not my eye. And while I do admit that there are such things as floaters and people who have a problem with their retina torn, and it causes them to have bad vision, this doesn't cause me to have bad vision because I see these tubes, because I have to squint my eyes and determine I want to see them. I don't see them without my wanting to, so it never bothers me and blurs my vision, like if I'm driving or something like that. And see these little white things? Sometimes you see little white things. Sometimes I think these little circles are the ends of tubes facing toward me. And I've seen often atoms portrayed to be little circles with concentric circles around them. And all these little colorful bubbles, when one of them looks like it's broken open and you can see the insides, and all these little colorful bubbles. And all these little veins, I guess you would call it. Sometimes it looks like a fisherman's net, or sometimes I like to think of Indra's net of jewels. I need to look into more of that. That's something ancient, and I've got to look into that. Now this shows, or I can show you real close up, all the little tiny circles. They have a darker inside and then a ring around that, and then there's concentric circles that intercept other circles with concentric lines around them, making that interference pattern. And it's just a really strange world. There's those two eye sockets that camera always gets. Now my other camera that I take pictures with won't get those two eye sockets. I think that cameras vary in the spectrum of light that they perceive, so the cheaper cameras are all right for looking at this world of light, because I think they don't have a lot of filters that filter out this. Because people who want really good pictures, they don't want a lot of disturbance in their pictures of a landscape or a person. They don't want this sort of thing in it. So they put these filters in it, so you don't have to get a real expensive camera to see this. Like this one that I'm using wasn't very expensive at all. Here's where I wrote this from a book. It came from a book called The Return of the Dove by Margaret Storm. Anyway, she says in here, modern scientists advocate the use of brute force to compel the atoms today, but that lowers the vibrations of the atoms. And see these little orbs there, how they move, and when they get out there, they just, I don't know what get out there means. When the light comes on and I film them, they just do all kinds of moving around. They flip themselves this way and that. Sometimes they do things like this twist here and show all the beautiful colors in the twist. Now, I've come to the end of that. I'll go back to my library and show you that I have hundreds, thousands probably, of pictures of the orb. This one is one that I put a lot of pictures of Harry, the little light creature, in. Oh, I'm not getting him though. I must have put other, well, here's one. I'll show you this one. There he is. I have so many pictures of these, and I want to say, I really wish I could make a website and put them all somewhere, put them somewhere safe, because my family doesn't much care for my orb pictures or me even talking about orbs. For some reason, I don't know what exactly it is. They kind of think, well, this is just something glass does, you know, when you film something. Look at the movement